Hello, everyone, and welcome to Middleground. I'm your host, Ray Garcia, and today I am joined by members running for the council seat 1 for the city of Homestead. We have Ms. Kimberly Kronsky, and we have our incumbent, Mr. Davis. Thank you for joining us today. We're here to learn directly more about the candidates and their priorities and their visions for the city of Homestead so that each viewer can understand what each candidate is standing for. Make sure to follow Middleground on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Middleground HQ for more interviews, videos, and content about civic engagement. So let's start with a few questions for the candidates. First, our first question will be revolving around traffic. So let's start with Ms. Kronsky. Question 1. How will you help reduce traffic congestion as Homestead continues to grow?
Good question. I would start with working with local and state officials to address the signals, the lights, most importantly, like US 1, Old Dixie Highway, and the busway, getting them synchronized. So that would give an easier flow to traffic. And that would not just be City of Homestead proper, but all of City of Homestead unincorporated as well. So that it would make the citizens a better quality of life. You know. So that was first and foremost. I would also address the busway. I think that in time, as we continue to grow, it's going to be necessary that at some point the monorail does make its way to Homestead. I mean, I know this is way down the road, but it's something that I would lobby for, that we could have a safe and productive flow of traffic today and in the future. As far as how we could pay for some of that, I think that we could assess new development and they could have pay their share to help implement some of that as well.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. I love your answer. Next up, we have Councilmember Davis. How will you help to reduce traffic congestion as Homestead continues to grow?
Well, thank you very much for that question. I think it's a very timely one. I'm delighted to say that I've already started on that. We've done several things in the City Council since my tenure started 23 months ago. But I have to say up front, we need to not have any illusions that the mess that we have with traffic in the city of Homestead was brought about by excessive high-density development and without the corresponding work done on the infrastructure. So during my tenure, I've done a couple of things. First, we have a bond issue for the election in November, in a couple of weeks. That bond issue, if passed, will allow us to have a pool of money so that we can start immediately doing work within our city. That's a very important thing to have out there. Additionally, we've set up 2 trusts. And first trust is infrastructure, second trust is for parks. And those are important functions because when there's money available in the city council can vote money into say the infrastructure trust or the parks trust, instead of just leaving it in the general fund. When you leave it in the general fund, it's kind of like when it's in your checking account, it's going to go somewheres, you know. That way, it's a very deliberative process that it goes into the infrastructure account, say, and it's parked there until it builds up enough so we can say we're going to take care of this project. Which brings me to my next point. We've recently voted, and I voted on as well, that we had a list of priorities for infrastructure in the city of Homestead. A number of roads, bridges, and the like. One of the pump stations has to get replaced. And so we have that list of priorities, and I think that's very important because that keeps your eye on target. It keeps, what do we want to really get done? Well, it's right on that list. That can be changed as well. You know, over time, it could be revoted upon and shuffled or something removed as it gets fixed and something added. And finally, during my tenure, we've gotten funding to rework Chrome Avenue and Flagler Street. That's going to do a lot to fix congestion because if you've been on either of those 2 roads, they're a long time out of sync with the community. And by doing it, I'll give you a good example. Did you know that down Chrome Avenue, they only have 3-inch water pipes, which means they were sunk in the 40s or 50s, maybe the 60s. The standard is 11-inch. Well, it's no wonder we can't get development in, because we got to be able to have the infrastructure in place to make it happen. So not only with the roads, but the infrastructure that's underneath it will be fixed as well. So I think that we could have 100 things on that list of priorities, but we're going to focus on those 12, and then we'll keep knocking them out one at a time. And with the knowledge that those types of infrastructure things, there's kind of slow burning fuses, that it'll take some time to get them done. You gotta identify them, fund them, plan them, construct them, get them approved. It takes a while, but you know what? You only get done by starting it and getting it done today.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for both of your answers. Now we'll be moving into utilities.
Moving on.
Oh, moving on. Yes, moving on to utilities.
Okay.
Mr. Davis, do you believe that Homestead should keep running its own power, or should it partner with FPL to lower costs, and why?
Well, I think that's a very timely question, because it comes up from time to time in conversation. Although I've seen no plan for it yet. There's been no plan presented to the city council. I do think it's important because there's two components to the FPL question. First is it going to be cheaper for our customers? Is it going to be cheaper for our customers within the city of Homestead? Is it going to be more reliable in time of natural disaster? Will the power in general be more reliable? Those are the kind of things we need to look at as you partner with FP&L. Maybe yes, maybe no. I got to see a plan. I got to see the plan. But the second part, which is of equal importance, is what do we do with the city of Homestead workers and Homestead Power? Because you cannot just say, "Oh, we're going to go to FPL," and then leave these people behind. As for me, any plan that comes forward has to have those two components. Is the power consumption and the price per kilowatt and those other items, is that good for the city of Homestead? And the second, which I say has equal importance, is what are we going to do with our employees? Are they going to be able to be absorbed in FPL without any detriment? We're going to absorb them within the city, what have you. But there's got to be a plan, because each of those workers, that's a family, that's a mortgage, that's kids in school, what have you. Yeah. And we got to take care of those workers who have done a very good job for the city.
Yes. Okay, so same question to you, Ms. Kronsky. Do you believe that Homestead should keep running its own power or partner with FPL to lower costs, and why?
Most definitely, they should run their own power.
Okay.
I agree. I agree with pretty much everything that you said. The city of Homestead has sustained itself, and it has generated a lot of jobs, a lot of, the economy. And I agree. I mean, if there was ever, I feel that we don't need to monopolize power. I think that having that free trade is very important. You brought that up, keeping the price down on the kilowatts. And it's important that we sustain those families and the money that they generate for the community. And I agree that if there came a point in time where we could not sustain ourselves, and there would be the necessity for FP&L, which I know FP&L currently does service some of the Homestead residents and Homestead proper, not just unincorporated Dade, we would evaluate that and see what that looks like. And I agree, they should all retain employment. They should not be demoted either in that employment, and neither should they lose their retirement benefits, So if it came to a point where that had to happen, yeah, we would explore it, because at the end of the day, it's all what is best for the citizens. Correct. So what's and for the employees and for the citizens who are paying their electric bills as well.
Yes. Okay. So next subject is public safety. So we'll start with you, Ms. Kronsky. Homestead currently has one of the lowest police-to-resident ratios in the country, in the county, about 1.6 officer per 1,000 citizens, compared to the 2.2 in Miami-Dade County and the state average about 4.2. We're also facing a higher than average crime rate. So what is your plan to increase funding, grow the police force, and strengthen our community involvement and trust as the city is continuing to expand?
I was quite surprised. This was surprising to hear those numbers and troubling. I know that there is a need for a bigger police presence. I just didn't know how big that need was. So thanks for doing your homework. Yeah. There's been long talks about the need, not just for a police station, but also fire rescue, to be on the east side of Homestead. And there's been talks of, building a second police department. And that is not, it's a discussion, but it's a necessity. It's something that has to be done. Door knocking recently, I talked to a firefighter as well, and he says, their response time is sometimes 15 minutes or more because they're not on the east side, or are not as prevalent on the east side as they should be. So that's hurting the safety of our residents. So a couple of things on how we could do that, because it's going to cost money. Back to what you said about traffic and the bond that's out there. Any bond that the city gets, the citizens are going to have to pay for. So we don't want the taxes to go up. There's other ways that we could generate income. Like I said earlier, we could, assess a tax to the developers, new development permit fees that would contribute to that. Also, the city has a lot of land, for instance, that could be used for income to the city through either joint ventures or even like a lease. So a 99-year lease, let's say, for an example, using a prime property that we have is where the old City Hall used to be on US 1 and Campbell Drive. So doing something like a long-term lease could be earmarked for paying for things such as increasing the fire rescue and the police department and the need to build that facility. So that's a few of my ideas how we can make it happen.
Thank you for sharing that. So the same question for you, Mr. Davis. Homestead currently has one of the lowest police-to-resident ratios in the county, about 1.6 officers per 1,000 citizens, compared to 2.2 in Miami-Dade County and a state average of about 4.2. We are also facing a higher-than-average crime rate. So what is your plan to increase funding, grow the police force, and strengthen community involvement and trust as the city continues to grow?
Well, I would say that I'm delighted to report that I've already taken concrete steps in that direction. I know that Ms. Kronsky is not aware of what's been going on, but I sponsored a resolution directing the city manager to make a plan for a permanent police presence on the east side. And that's really very important. It's 10 years overdue, and it needed to get done. This was about 6 months ago, perhaps, and they've been working on it. So there's a couple of sites that are already in the target area. One is the old bank building on Campbell Drive next to Lowe's.
Okay, yes.
Another is in the sports complex area. There's lots of land there. We could put it there. And there are a couple parcels of city-owned property in that area. Not Harrisfield, but rather the old City Hall site is out of the question, because that's not a whole lot better than the police station. It's 10 minutes from the police station. We need to get closer. It makes a lot of sense. We got the sports complex there. They're going to have big sporting events and concerts and things. Speedway is there. The highest density population is there. And also you also have the accident potential zone from the base. So if something bad were to happen at the base, and God forbid that were to happen, crashes mostly occur when planes land or initially when they take off. That's why you have the accident potential zone. Okay, you need to have police there. And we really see that. Remember, gosh, about 3 or 4 years ago when the base had a dropped ordinance, and the Homestead police were ill prepared to take care of that, because that was until the base made that ordinance. It was a 500-pound bomb. Until they made it safe, everything needed to shut down. The police were ill prepared, and they need to have that presence. Additionally, though, I voted for additional 8 officers in the city of Homestead. 8's kind of a magic number for them. That's the most that they can bring on board in a given year. Because remember, they have to get trained, weapons proficiency training, standard operating procedure, all that stuff. The training officer has to sign off. 8 is about the magic number for them. Some might be new hires right out of the academy. Others may be experienced officers coming on board. So 8 is an average. I will tell you this: if the chief was to come to me, and the council, of course, and say, you know what, we can put in another 2 officers. Can we figure out how to do that? I would support that. 8 to me is that arbitrary kind of number. Well, it's not arbitrary, but I mean it's derived from the police force. If we can exceed that, I'm delighted, because it'll be 8 this year, 8 next year. And if we can do it sooner, all the better. I think that I'm very proud of hiring Chief Knapp. I voted for his hiring. He's done an outstanding job re-envisioning our police department. He's reshifted the positions. He's shifted the rank structure to make it more in line with a modern police force. And he's done a very good job building a police team. I thought he's done an outstanding job doing that. And he's, retirement ceremonies, promotion ceremonies. Additionally, he does things like the Citizens Police Academy, which is an outstanding transparency thing to do, to teach people this is what the police do and this is why they do it and this is how they do it. It's an excellent thing to do. I would say that I disagree with your numbers. I disagree with what you have because there was a report that came out a year ago, perhaps, that kind of lumped Homestead into a bad rate of policing, of crime rate rather. My concern as a city councilman is within the four corners of the city of Homestead. That report actually went out to areas that in unincorporated Dade County that use Homestead as their address and as based on zip codes. And that was debunked at the time. And I think that's important because it included areas that are in unincorporated Dade County, some areas by the Redland, Leisure City, Goulds, and some other unincorporated areas that had nothing to do with Homestead. We can't even enforce laws there. When you look at Homestead proper, and within the confines of our city limit, I think you'll find a whole lot different crime rate for us inside of Homestead. Doesn't mean it can't be better. Our police force always needs to do better. But to their credit, they're always doing more and more outreach. They're doing a great job. The night out the other night was outstanding. The police were there and they did a great job. So all those components are really coming together with our public safety aspect.
Oh, perfect. Thank you guys so much. And I would love to follow up and see that number and see if there's any changes in like studies or anything that would change that number.
I think what they've done with the police explorers and the police athletics is also good. It's bringing up the youth and
increasing trust.
Exactly. Exactly.
So next up is going to downtown development. Mr. Davis, what are your plans to revitalize downtown Homestead, as there's already been progress, and strengthen the city's cultural identity and its local economy?
I think there's been unfortunately with, let me say it this way. We have done a lot of work to get monies available to rework Chrome Avenue. Okay, that includes the stormwater drainage, includes fresh water, of course, the paving and all the greenery surrounding Chrome Avenue. So that's already on the table. That should begin shortly. Same thing down Flagler Avenue. Flagler Avenue has been greatly kind of ignored over the years, and it's time to get Flagler Avenue squared away. That's going to really become the heartbeat of our downtown when those two things are finished. And that's how we're going to get investment into downtown, that we've done our part, that you got power, you got water, it's not going to flood out, all those kind of things. Additionally, though, the revitalization of the former City Hall property is critical because as you start putting those components together, you got the City Hall property, you got Flagler Street, you got Chrome Avenue. All those are going to work together to make a very vibrant downtown. We've already got Flanagan's. That's already been approved. Everyone's waiting for Flanagan's to open. And I think that we're looking forward to seeing that in the future. This year sometime, those requests for proposal will come through, and then the City Council will deliberate them accordingly and make decisions accordingly.
Okay, sounds good. And Ms. Kronsky, what are your plans to revitalize the downtown Homestead area and strengthen the city's cultural identity and local economy?
This is where my heart is. I'm born and raised in Homestead. I've been here 53 years. I've seen a lot of change. So I feel like we're a bigger community that offers less services, and it breaks my heart. So infrastructure is necessary, but I don't think that's going to bring the business. I think customer service and being a place that businesses want to come to is going to be more important. And what I mean by that is that City Hall is someone that's easy to work with. I've heard numerous stories how hard, how difficult it is for businesses to come to Homestead. We're not easy to work with, is the statement that I've been told. Permitting issues, how long it takes, how many times they have to be revisited. I've heard it say that we feel like we're a remote facility, that there's no one there to speak with, to rectify whatever the issue is. So I come back to customer service, and that we need to be a community that people want to come to, that they want their businesses there, that they feel comfortable, and that we're a pleasure to work with, and then I think the businesses will come. We haven't made it easy for them, is my understanding. So that is priority. Advertisement of what's going on in downtown Homestead. I had heard that we were going to advertise on the billboards on the Turnpike. I haven't seen that, so I don't know if that's going to happen. And the biggest issue that I see, other than the businesses, because you have to have the reason for the people to come, is accessibility and parking. We have a parking garage, yes. It's a little expensive. So I would revisit that contract to see if there was a way that we could have free parking on the weekends, or at least a voucher for reimbursement or something along those lines. So that, again, we're more accessible. We make it easier for the people to come down. Now, back to Old Homestead and the fact that, what downtown and what Homestead is. Homestead is a very unique community. I feel like at times we're trying to be Miami, but that's not what Homestead is. I'm in real estate, and I have clients all the time giving me the reasons why they're moving out of town. It's not the community that I once knew. It's not the sleepy little town that I grew up in. The traffic, many things that is not the community that they once knew. And then I have people who are buying those homes coming in saying, oh, we love this community. It's a sleepy little town. But they're coming from Kendall and Hialeah. So it's all relative. But what we are, that identity, that uniqueness that makes Homestead what it is where my heart is. My desire is to retain the integrity of what Homestead is. We shouldn't be something that we're not.
Yeah.
So let's embrace who we are. We're a farming community. I'm a farmer's daughter. I served the agriculture industry for over 30 years. So I think we should embrace who we are and not try to be something that we're not. And really be appealing to those business owners that would like to come down to downtown Homestead and make it an enjoyable experience.
Okay. I love that you both have ideas on how to further this downtown development. So going from downtown development to now overdevelopment, we will start with Ms. Kronsky. Many residents are worried about overdevelopment and losing Homestead's character, like you just mentioned. How will you manage to grow? How would you manage growth to prevent overcrowding and the strain on the city's resources, such as, for example, overburdening the power grid?
Wow. This is the topic everybody's talking about. Overdevelopment. They're building too much. When are they going to stop? Make them stop. That's what we hear. Every door you knock on, that's what you're going to hear. Yeah. There is a solution. The current council has put a moratorium on development, which they cannot do. Local government can't. So there is no moratorium that did nothing to stop growth. But something that has happened over the years is housing density. We're now at 31 homes per acre. That's too much density. So if we reduce the density per acre, it will slow the overdevelopment. And then going back to what I said earlier, assessing the developers, putting fees on the permits, and that could offset, and that's how we would pay for the infrastructure. It's needed. Like you said, you're talking about the size of the pipes. I have a friend who lives in the northeast section of Homestead and says he can't run his washing machine and a shower at the same time because he doesn't have any water pressure. So it's important that we address these issues. They're not going to get better. They're going to get worse. So yeah, there's a huge priority there to fix our infrastructure.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you gave very real examples. Mr. Davis, many residents are worried about overdevelopment and losing Homestead's character. So how will you manage growth and prevent overcrowding on and strain on the city's resources, such as overburdening the power grid?
Well, I think one of the first things to remember is that the issue of overdevelopment and high density development is going to be overcome when we stop having realtor developers having a majority or having such a strong team on the city council. Make no mistake, the issues we have with infrastructure, the issues we have with traffic, all these things that we're talking about were brought about by such a heavy priority on high density development, and that's got to stop. And in my tenure, it has stopped. I disagree. The moratorium worked. It stopped high density development. The only things that were there were those items that were already in the pipeline, and we can discuss that. I think of one of the other topics, but to get back to your other what she mentioned before about dealing with City Hall. Apparently, she's unaware, as she was with the development with the police. City Manager Dr. Ajecueba has done a great job in revitalizing the City Hall. Permitting is now all electronic, no more paper trail, the old, doing things with paper. Customer service has been revamped, personnel has been revamped. We were 25 years behind with these types of things, and I'm delighted to say that we've gotten pretty well caught up within the last year or so. Mm-hmm. A lot has been done in the city of Homestead. Additionally, when it comes to development, you need to have those city council persons on the council that have the personal and professional discipline to say enough is enough on this development. We've got to put a stop to it. And I'm very concerned that another realtor developer on board is going to show the same discipline that the preceding realtor developer showed, which is almost no discipline to say, stop, enough of this, and we're looking at Homestead. My vision is not a Homestead of 20 years ago or 30 years ago. My vision is a Homestead of 20 years from now and 30 years from now. And I think we're doing a very good job putting that together. We've had any number of meetings, charrettes for strategic planning, the trolley service. We've had town hall meetings on. We've had any number of meetings in our city council regarding infrastructure, any of those types of things. Additionally, the committee of the whole. And you know what? In none of those have I seen Ms. Kronsky. Not one. So what has changed? What has changed that has made her be so desirous of joining the city council? And what I would say is that answer is the sunset of the moratorium. Once that moratorium is sunset, now high density development is back on the table. And I think it is wrong that we continue even entertaining that concept. We need to put the skids on that. We need to make sure that we're looking for the Homestead of 20 and 30 years from today.
Okay. So now going on to the next topic of infrastructure growth. As Homestead continues to grow, Mr. Davis, what do you see as the biggest infrastructure needs in healthcare, education, and emergency planning?
Well, I'm proud to say I've taken the lead on two of those already. When it comes to healthcare, I initiated a project where we bring a VA hospital here to Homestead. The healthcare for our veteran population is deplorable. Mm-hmm. Right now, they have to drive all the way to downtown Miami to get basic kind of services. So that puts a burden on our elderly population, but also our younger population. If you have a young man or a young woman who was in our most latest conflict, or 20 years of conflict, they're young people, they can't take a day off from work multiple times to go downtown for their health care. So they're not seeking it with the VA because the VA is not here in Homestead. And I'm proud to have done that. I worked with the city manager, Dr. Ajecueba, and also Mayor Losner. We've dedicated a 2.5 or so acre parcel in the old City Hall site, and we're essentially giving it to the VA. Come and build the hospital here. We've got Congressman Jimenez as our champion. Mm-hmm. And, right now we're all dealing with the government shutdown. but that'll get back on track as soon as the shutdown relieves itself. Additionally, when you talk about public safety, I was the one that put up the resolution to get a permanent police protection on the east side. Not the city council of the east side. It was me that did it. It was 10 years overdue. In addition to the permanent police presence, it's not just a police station. The intent is to make it the proper emergency operations center. So in its entirety, it'll be a Cat 5 building. And it was brought up before, how you're going to pay for it. There's lots of grants and the like and various monies that will become available for that. Once we nail down the location, that's the key. You nail down the location, and then we bring in, then we start planning and exactly how we're going to make it happen. When it comes to our healthcare as well, I'm delighted that Baptist Hospital, Homestead Hospital rather, is looking to expand to the north. That's their property as well. They're looking to expand, and I think that is great. I will gladly entertain the expansion into that area. Would be doctors' offices, perhaps an expansion of the hospital itself. I remember when the hospital was built, it's like, what are we going to do with this enormous hospital in Homestead? And now it's overcrowded, because we've had such a growth. So I think that's a very timely thing. And the Palace is looking to expand as well for our elderly residents. That's a great place. That's a great option for many people. And I'll be delighted to see them be able to expand as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Kronsky, on the same subject, as Homestead grows, what do you see as the biggest infrastructure needs in healthcare, education, and emergency planning?
I'll start with education.
Okay.
We didn't touch on that yet. There is a need for more seats in our schools. I had a gentleman tell me the other day, I'm here till 8th grade, and then once my child goes into 9th grade, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. But that's a municipality that, as far as public school, that is out of our control. However, we do have a lot of charter schools that have served our community well. They've been there for decades. They have sewn into our children and done a wonderful job. So I would make it easier for them back to, City Hall and being accessible and easy to work with in regards to more charter schools and expanding their schools so that we have more seats for our students and those citizens stay in Homestead. As far as the hospital, I know the Baptist Hospital, Homestead, has been approved for that expansion, and they're only waiting for funding. So we are going to have a bigger hospital. In addition to that, there is a new hospital coming that's being built right now that's right on 288th, just east of by the Turnpike. So it's major medical. It's larger than a clinic or a medical center. So it's a test site for them. So hopefully it works well. It's a great location. So we'll see how that goes. And I agree, we need a VA hospital. Our veterans deserve it. It's not fair. It's not right that we make them drive to Miami for services. I don't necessarily agree with the site. I think that land use could be more profitable to the city used in other ways. The VA hospital, we had one years ago near the Air Force Base. So I think that would be a better location. It's closer to the Turnpike. So that would be my suggestion. But definitely I support the VA hospital for sure. I've told Mr. Davis that several times that I think it's a fantastic venture that we make that available. So.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to our next subject, we'll start with you again, Ms. Kronsky. Question 7 is transparency. So how will we ensure that the city's decisions are more transparent and includes residents' voices in the decision making, such as major infrastructure plans?
I believe the city does a great job being transparent. I mean, the council meetings are open to the public. They're televised. They're on the website, so they're there. What I would suggest is more town hall meetings. That way the citizens can feel heard and seen. Many of them have a lot to contribute and have a lot of questions, and there's not a time for that at City Hall per se, or at the council meeting. So I would open up more, hall meetings and hear what the people have to say. I believe that with all of the challenges that the city has, I bet there's a few citizens out there that could offer a few suggestions better than our heads could put together. So this would give them a platform to do so. So who knows what may come of it. So yeah, under your question of transparency, but I think, this could be a good thing for the community. Who knows what may come. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Mr. Davis, how will you ensure that city decisions are more transparent and include residents in the voice of decision making, such as major infrastructure plans?
Well, I think that there are a number of ways for our citizens to become involved in the decision-making process. So, for example, city council meetings that always are open to the public, and they can speak generally or they can speak to a specific issue. Committee of the whole is always open. We've done lots of multiple town halls regarding, trolley, regarding we had a town hall regarding tax assessor. We had these multiple things that are out there, and I would say I don't remember Ms. Kronsky at any of them. My point is those are only as good as people participate, and to come on board now to say, oh, I care so much about Homestead. Well, where was the care about Homestead when the heavy lifting was getting done? That when decisions needed to be made and expertise needed to be gathered. We had strategic planning meetings. We had charrettes open to the public as well, and they've been pretty well attended, I would say. That's something I like about Homestead is to see the number of people that show up to these various meetings. I like that actually a lot. That's exactly what small government is about. You know what I mean? And one thing that Kim said is right, that you never know what you're going to hear. And all of a sudden, someone has this idea or observation or what have you. And it's like, wow, I didn't think of that, and it's like, thanks. But, you got to participate in order for your voice to be heard. Mm-hmm. And Ms. Kronsky has not participated in these things, but now she wants to be on the council because she wants to participate. I would say that is ingenuine.
Okay. Next up, we'll start this question with you. Budget priorities. So with limited resources as a city, how will you decide what issues like safety, roads, or utilities will get funded first and why?
I would say that in response, that, like Ms. Kronsky, I've been out and talking to people, and you meet a lot of people. Infrastructure. They're tired of the roads being congested. They're tired of perceptions of down Chrome Avenue and Flagler Street. We've already discussed that. That is clearly going to be my priority, is that infrastructure, first of all. We've got our list. We've got our trust set up. We've got the bond issue on the ballot in November. I think we're just primed to start working those issues. As we move forward, additionally, people talk about the police department. I think the police have done an excellent review of internally of how they do business and the number of police officers they need to hire, those types of things on target. Dr. Ahequeba with the City Hall and the team, bringing us up into this century of technology finally. He's done a great job bringing us into this more professional world. We didn't have GIF maps. It shows the different overlays of things in the city. He's brought that on board as well. Ms. Kronsky brought up permitting. That's a very valid point. And we've already taken steps to improve that because the people who reviewed the permitting were actually contracted. They weren't city employees, and so customer service wasn't entirely on the top of their list. Well, we've done away with that contract, and now we're hiring Homestead or hiring people into the city hall now to run the permitting. And of course, they're charged with being, accurate and fair and all those kind of things. But the big key is they got to talk to people. If they deny something, they have to say why it's denied and cite a building code or a construction code or something, whatever's appropriate. And what I've asked the city manager to do is add something on there that if something's not working, then you got to say, you know what, but maybe try this. There's always another way to get something done. I think we've made great strides with that. And by doing those types of things, we're going to make infrastructure work. And I think that the people in Homestead expect that of us. Infrastructure.
Okay. Next up, Ms. Kronsky, on budget priorities. With limited resources like a city has, how will you decide what issues get priority first? Safety, roads, utilities. Why?
Interesting question, because they're all important.
Yes.
So how do you put an emphasis on one more than the other? Because you'll find that they're all parallel to one another. For instance, the infrastructure, the roadways, safety of our citizens, that is the safety. You know, if we don't have safe water or, you know, a sewer system that could sustain the community, then the citizens aren't safe. And then our roadways, you know, back to police and fire rescue, and, you know, do they have, with the traffic issue, and the conditions of the roads, are we slowing down their transit time, you know, response time? So yeah, it's a hard one to say what comes first, you know. They're all of importance and they all work with each other. So I'm happy to hear that there is a new system with permitting. That's good news. But we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So we'll now be moving into the candidate-specific questions, and we'll be starting with Ms. Kronsky. Ms. Kronsky, as someone who knows Homestead's neighborhoods and housing market as a realtor, what can the city do differently to make housing accessible and sustainable?
Accessible and sustainable?
Yes.
I think we have a pretty accessible market. You know, it's interesting, you know, house prices are based on supply and demand. So we're seeing an adjustment in the market. It's been said many times that, you know, Homestead is a more affordable housing. We're kind of the last frontier for developers, and I think that's been one of the keys to why we've had so much overdevelopment. But I think we've done a good job of keeping housing affordable. Now, I would say that taxes and infrastructure, road conditions that need to be addressed, I don't believe that should be assessed to the people. And I believe that there was some mismanagement, and I don't blame Mr. Davis. I don't blame the current council. I think it's been going on for years. Things were not done in an order that would have been most proficient. I think you build it and then worry about the roads and the infrastructure. Maybe the cart in front of the horse. I don't know, but I don't feel that the citizens, that the homeowners should pay the burden for the financial responsibility it's going to take to address the issues that we now face. So you know, there's some other ways. I would look at the budget, you know, as well. You know, there's some proposed projects, a purchase of property, a Goodyear property in Homestead. As a realtor, it's the proposed offer price is almost $2 million over what its value is. So I think that's $2 million that belong to the citizens of Homestead. I think that we can manage our money a little bit better, you know, and that goes across the board. So that would be more sustainable, not so much housing, but more sustainable as far as the burden on the citizens as far as cost of living goes.
Okay. And then your second question is, on your campaign priorities, you've highlighted traffic as a major issue. From your perspective, what kind of development or planning changes could make the biggest difference towards traffic?
Well, like I said, the first thing we have to address is the synchronization of the lights. I mean, they're stacked backwards. I mean, I don't even work in that department, but, you know, I travel at night a few nights a week. Coming home, I come off the turnpike, I come down 288th, and I know that's not part of City Homestead, but it's all linked together. And the lights stack backwards. Instead of keeping the flow of traffic moving in the direction that you're going, it's backing up. And that's why we see so many people stuck in the middle of US 1. I mean, it's dangerous. It's not quality of life because you're irritated, you're frustrated. You know, it's slowing down. You know, people don't want to travel. So that's my biggest concern. When I say traffic, it's just starting with the little things that is an obvious issue. Let's just fix what we know we can immediately make a difference in. So, and then we can build from that. So, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So we'll be moving on to Davis and your candidate-specific questions. The first question I have is that, Councilman Davis, your platform emphasizes resisting overdevelopment and high-density housing, which we've had a little bit of conversation about. How do you define responsible growth for Homestead, and what would that look like in practice?
I think that's a great question and very timely. A city will not survive and thrive without a measure of growth, and I think that is dependent on the city council to have the discipline and the forethought and the planning to say how that growth and how that redevelopment is going to happen. To me, I think that we've taken very appropriate steps forward with that. For example, I think the building moratorium was a great thing to do for that season. Because it made us stop and look around. What do we got to get done? Well, what do we have completed from that point? Well, now we have a strategic plan. We see how it is. We want to look, and that strategic plan is very valuable. And as it continues to be worked, this is how we're going to look in the future. This is how we want to be in the future. And that, I'm a big believer in planning. Perhaps it's my military background, but you always got a plan. You can always adjust off the plan, but you make a plan. And I think that strategic plan is doing very well for us. When it comes to the good year, why is that good year important? Well, I don't know if the sale has actually happened. I think it still has to come before the city council. But the bottom line is that's part of the strategic plan to redevelop downtown. Instead of perpetuating what we have, we're saying, no, we want to see things in the future. I think that Kim brought up a good point that it comes also down to density. We're never going to not be developing or redeveloping, but we have to be able to say, that our density needs to be lowered. Our density needs to be low enough that we retain the quality of life for people. We go to the east side, and yes, it's a lot of houses out there, but people are just right on top of each other, and that also gives an option for people coming here into Homestead. One thing I think we need to continue doing to make our homes more affordable, and to your original question, is jobs. We are working very hard to bring high-paying jobs here to Homestead. I worked very hard to get a company called Tailored Arms here into Homestead. It's a veteran-owned and operated business. They'll be moving into Homestead shortly. Jobs. Let's additionally, we around Homestead Air Reserve Base is now considered a spaceport. We're bringing in those jobs. For the nature of space has changed. When we were kids, when I was, back when we had oil in the lamps, when I was a kid, everything was about Kennedy Space Center and Vandenberg Air Force Base. Well, now space travel and the space industry has gone nationwide, and that area surrounding Homestead Air Reserve Base is now considered a spaceport, and we are actively pursuing corporations to come in, and they'll be building the various components for various spacecraft. Those are high-paying jobs. Another reason to have the VA hospital, because generally speaking, they are military heavy. There'll be former military people that get out and they work for those corporations, manufacturing or what have you. And so that's important too, because if you make local jobs, that makes the houses more affordable for people that are here. I do agree that there's been a correction in the market. I mean, my house was like $800,000. I would never afford that house if I had to buy it today, when Jessica and I purchased the house. But the market has simmered. But the thing that's going to really, when you talk to people, when you go door to door, they end up spending so much of their life driving to Kendall or driving to Doral or taking the metro to downtown. If we keep forcing those jobs into Homestead, we're going to be doing Homestead a favor. We got plenty of room for them. We've got plenty of ideas. Get the infrastructure fixed, and those friendly corporations will be coming.
Okay. Sounds good. Your next question. You've also called for an increase in funding in public safety and efforts to bring new jobs to Homestead, like we just spoke about. How do you plan to keep those priorities while keeping taxes manageable for the residents?
That's a great question. And I would say we've done a number of things. The City Hall, Dr. Ayacueva has done a very good job cutting costs with, there's a lot of legacy items and legacy positions in the City Hall. that he's done a very good job, eliminating and then transferring people within the city. That's gone very well. I do agree. I don't want to see an increase in taxation. We kept the millage rate the same from last year. I think that that is our priority. I think that it's going to go very well. When intelligently stewarded, we have the money to make these things happen. Not all at one time, but they can happen. We can fund the police. We can grow the police. We can grow the infrastructure needs that we said. Increase our tax base by getting, the Park of Commerce has been essentially empty for years. It's slowly grown. If we get businesses in that Park of Commerce, that's going to be a huge increase in tax dollars that will come into the city. And not just tax dollars, but also economic impact. Because if it works right, the people who work in those corporations that are coming, they're going to be living in Homestead. So that money's going to stay, and that economic impact will grow and grow. So I think there's a solid plan ahead to see that forward. And I would invite Ms. Kronsky to come to one of these meetings. Come and let your voice be heard about what you think is important for, spaceport. What corporations do you think are important? How are we going to host them in? How are we going to get them in? How are we going to sell Homestead even better to say, no, I have these three options. Homestead's the place I want to go. And I would say it's time for Ms. Kronsky to be honest, to stop talking about old Homestead or what you think and start saying what you did. What have you done to get this accomplished here in our city?
Okay. So now we'll be moving into our closing statements where you can talk directly to the voters. We'll begin this with Mr. Davis. So you may.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have to say I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much. This has been an outstanding debate. It's been an outstanding method to have different ideas come forward. I've known Kim for about 1 million years or so, kind of, sort of. But there's differences of opinion. And it's healthy to get them out. I think it's a very healthy thing. I love being a city councilman, and I think I've earned my stripes. To use a good term from the military, you have your NCOs have their rank on their sleeve, so you say you earned your stripes when you've done a good job. I would say that. As moving forward, I think I have the vision. I think I've had the willpower to keep pushing through and looking how we want Homestead to be 20 and 30 years ahead and taking those steps necessary to get there, whether it be the VA hospital, police presence, new city manager, funding for Chrome and Flagler Street. Those are things that I'm very proud of, that I've had a piece of getting it done. I've also been to many of the town halls and various charrettes and things. I've been to many of them, and I love hearing from our Homestead residents. They have a lot of good ideas, and I encourage them to continue doing that. Let us know what you think, and I think that I am well positioned. I would say that we have to come to the realization and just say it out loud. The mess that we have with overdevelopment, the mess that we have with traffic, the mess that we were talking about, all these different things relates directly to overdevelopment and the high density overdevelopment that we've seen in Homestead. We cannot allow that to happen again. And as I said before about all the meetings and stuff for Ms. Kronsky to have gone to, okay, what's changed? You didn't have time to go to any of those meetings, at least to my knowledge. If there's one, you can correct me. But City Hall, City Council, Committee of the Whole, all those venues that were out there to have your voice be heard and your expertise brought forward, nothing, crickets. So what has changed? And I'll tell you what's changed is the high density moratorium being lifted. That will sunset by state law. It'll sunset, and now it's important to come on board. Now you have this desire. Well, you know what? We just need to say it. Realtor developers make money by building homes, selling homes, building homes, selling homes. And we need to be stepping away from that now and saying, no, we are going to look at the whole of Homestead And it's not about making money as a realtor developer or the home corporation making money. It's about the citizens of Homestead, and that's what we need to focus on. And that's why I'm running. And I think, like I said, I've earned my stripes in the last 23 months.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Now, Ms. Kronsky, it is your time for your closing statement.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting us. This has been great. Yes, I've enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
Thanks. Yeah, the time has come. So 23 months, you say that you have been serving on council. Well, it's time for me to step up. You know, I have served this community well through thousands of community service hours as volunteering through various civic organizations. So I've been there for the community, but I haven't been involved in this capacity. So Mr. Davis has been here for 23 months. So now it's time for me to step up and get a little deeper involved because my heart is for the community. I do love Homestead. I do love the people. I want to improve quality of life. I want Homestead to be a place that they are proud to call home. I want Homestead to be a place that people want to come to, not just to live, but to do business. And so, yeah, I want to roll up my sleeves. I want to dig a little bit deeper. And it's not about the job opportunity. So, yeah, I may be a real estate agent, but that's only been in the last 4 years. So the moratorium is ending, which never existed in the first place. Everything was already into play, so it did nothing. But I do agree. It comes down to density, and that's where in the overdevelopment, and that's where we have to put a halt to things and change the density. So we're on the same page there. But it's not a job opportunity by no means because I'm not that woman. I haven't been. You can look at my record. You can look at my real estate dealings and tell that I'm not that person. If anything, I've done my best to retain the integrity of the neighborhoods when selling a home. And the homeowner is always concerned. Actually, the neighbors have been concerned and said, you know, who's buying that house? Is it somebody that's going to, you know, rent out every room? And we're going to have 10 cars in the driveway, and you know what's going to happen to my neighborhood. So I've done the best to retain the integrity of the neighborhood and what Homestead is. So I say now is the time. You know, I've watched things. I've gotten to know people. I've paid attention to things that are happening, and you know, I think I can make a difference, and that's why I'm here. So it's not that I waited. Maybe just the time wasn't here yet. So I'm ready. So put me in, Coach.
and I would say, if you have a moment, answer, why weren't you present at any of those meetings that determined the future of Homestead, and what's changed from then to now?
I'm ready now. I just, I thought I served my community well in the capacity that I was, but I see now I can do more. I want to I listen to the people. I want to be a voice. I want to get involved. So there's.
Okay. Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate you coming to voice how you view the future of Homestead to be. So thank you all for joining us today and sharing your perspectives. We appreciate your time and everything that you're doing to have the vision for Homestead. For our viewers, we want you to stay informed and exercise your right to vote. It's the right that you have to ensure that you're making your city go in the direction that you want it to go into. Your voice matters, and you will be the one who shapes the city's future. So don't forget to follow Middleground on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Middleground HQ, and see more interviews and other civic content regarding local, state, and national politics aimed at everyone, everywhere. Thank you.